those weird things where like I ask the question and I have to wait a little bit just because I have to see because I know there's that delay, but we'll go with it. All right, so the next one is how to deal with player beef by Trash Can Ted. Sorry, you're in a trash can, Ted. Unless you're like whatever the Grouch is. Or the Grouch monster? Isn't that his name, the Grouch? I'm actually not sure now. No, it's Oscar the Grouch. That's right, it's Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street. Anyhow. Alright. Hey, so I'm on like 60 different D&D subreddits, so I don't know where the best place to post this kind of thing is. So I'm looking around here, and my best guess is here. Alright. So I'm going to try to be as vague as possible and not potentially put myself out in case anyone I know reads this. Understandable, you're on the internet. It's on the internet. But I'm new in a campaign, I'm new in a campaign as a player, and I'm having some issues with a new player. She's a friend of a friend. The GM and another player knows her, but this is my first time meeting her. My issue with her lies in, well, that is to say, she gives off a general aura of smugness? Arrogance? Something that just doesn't sit well with me. She often says things like, yeah, I'm an a-hole, but that's the way I am. Don't take it personally. Ruins jokes bits to correct people or reinform everyone on how cool their character is. Otherwise, just behave in a snarky, sarcastic, slightly overbearing manner. Her character is more or less an extension of herself, and is an alcoholic who doesn't care about killing whoever she wants and immediately tried to sell out the party during first session. Now, I know normally the answer is just, well, talk to her about it. See? Tell you. This is what always happens when you post things on Reddit, is people all the time will just be like, just talk with them about it, or talk to your DM. No, if it was that easy, it wouldn't be that way. Like, they wouldn't be posting on the internet looking for it. Alright, but I just met this person, and the GM, and the other player already vouched for her, saying things like, yeah, you have to keep an eye on her because she'll do X or Y, or Y or X, being things like power gaming, metagaming, but she's cool overall. I feel like I'm being outnumbered in an awkward position, and I'd really like to stay in the game and not leave because I dislike the other player. Or I dislike one other player. Any help on how to either get her to tone it down or to get myself to better adjust to her abrasive personality would be appreciated. Alright, Quark? I think Quark. Quark25. On the previous topic, at the start of every session, I ask all my players an interesting question to make them think how would my characters think or act in the situation. For example, if your characters lived in the real world, what kind of job would they do? I like that a lot, actually. That's a good way. That's actually a good exercise to do. I know personally what I do is because I'm very much wanting my players to be paying attention to what the game is, like what the session is and what the story is and the story we're telling. So like generally what I do is I pick a character or a player and I'm like, okay, I want you to recap the story. And it started off just as the player recapping, but it's been kind of interesting because now some of the players have been recapping it from their character's point of view and in their character's voice, and that's been fairly interesting and fun. Only because, one, you get to see what they thought of everything in a weird like meta sense, and of course we don't metagame it, but you know, it's very interesting to kind of see it from that aspect. But yeah, no, I love that idea of like, hey, if your character lived in the real world, what job would they have? Maybe like, hey, your character just saw a bunch of people get murdered and they know who the culprit is. What, you know, I love that idea. That's a great idea, Croc25. Appreciate it. Alright, so how to deal with player beef by Trash Can Ted. So, first things first that I would do here is obviously you are the only one with an issue so far. Sounds like the rest of the group is okay with her acting the way she does. So first things first I would do is, number one, I would say don't stir the pot. Okay? So like after a while, if you're getting annoyed by something, you might like say in game, you know, you see her steal something or she does something illegal, so you have your character sneak away and go tell the authorities, and the authorities show up, right? Don't stir the pot. What I'm getting at is, like, you know, just don't do anything that would piss this character off, because she's already got more weight in the group than you do. So that alone means that it's going to make you the outlier instead of her, okay? Which you kind of already are, but So don't push it any more than you have to. Now, what I would do is if she's gonna run and play the game this particular way, and she's okay. Like, I actually really don't like people who are very much, yeah, my character is an a-hole. This is just what I do. Like, no, like that's not okay. Because like it's never okay to just be an a-hole, right? Like, don't do that. That's bad, right? Like, I don't care if that's the way you are outside of game, but you really shouldn't be that inside. And if you're going to do that inside a game, let's have a reason why you're that way, right? So if that's the case, maybe try to get close to her, like, not intimately, even though you find her annoying and grating, right? Like, try to befriend that character in the game and stuff and see if maybe there's a reason that there's a way she is the way she is, right? So I would say along those lines, definitely try to get in, and even if that's your goal is just to kind of get in there and figure out why she is the way she is, and by acting nice to her and all that kind of stuff, she might gain a liking to you. It sounds like she's obviously kind of a greedy person as well too, so what I would do is like show her the value in keeping your character around so that maybe she will be on your side. Let's see here. Lark says it's annoying for her character as an alcoholic murder hobo. Yeah, and see, like, I feel as a DM, I would definitely be trying to find ways to put a stop to that, whether it's, like, like, I'm very much against murder hoboing. Like, it's fine for, like, new players for a little bit while they're still learning the ins and outs of the game, learning what they can and can't do. But after a certain point, you've got to sit back and go, okay, well, your actions are going to have consequences. If you're going to steal, if you're going to murder someone, people are going to find out it's you and they're not going to like you. If you want to live, like, put that character like they would be in the real world, kind of like how Croc was just saying, like, instead of just asking, like, make it really happen. If they murder someone, well, now the town's going to have an investigation going into play. And keep in mind, too, a lot of DMs fall into this trap that, like, all NPCs are like what they are in video games. They're just normal people without powers, right? But that's not true. Well, I mean, depends on your setting. But, like, generally that's not true. If you're playing in a high fantasy setting where it's common for a player, dwarf, cleric, whatever, to come along and just like that, they can all do magic. Therefore, someone can use magic to find out who did this, right? So, and then they can also magically bind her. Another really great thing I really enjoy is that, and I kind of borrowed this from multiple different sources, so I'm not going to claim it's my own invention whatsoever, but one of the things that I have in my world, it hasn't had to come up yet, but there's a pair of handcuffs, essentially it's a bracelet, but you put on the bracelet, or you put the bracelet on someone, and it cuts off their access to magic, and they're no longer allowed to spellcast. So give that to one of your, townsfolk, or not townsfolk, but your, like your guards, your police force, if you will. And then that'll help, deal with her, if she is a caster, that is. Sounds like it, but, helps deal with that. Otherwise, if they think they can take on the guards, I mean, I've had to do this before, but make it like World of Warcraft. Make the guards way higher level than them, regardless. Even if it doesn't make flavor sense, if it's just there to beat your players back into line, you do what you got to do to make them not just be out of control. Honestly, it sounds like the GM here has no problem with any of this, though, so as the player, there's very little control you can do in that aspect, but that was more or less for the GMs right there. As far as the player goes, I wouldn't say talk to her about it outside of game. I don't think you're going to do anything other than cause more of a sore for yourself. But honestly, I would say in-game, in character, show her your value, make her want to like you, and that should work itself out. How you'd go about doing that is, like I said, appeal to whatever you seem to think she likes. Right now, you mentioned that she's an alcoholic, right? So maybe next time you guys go to a tavern, buy her a drink and start up a conversation. Like, there's definitely ways you can do it, and all it takes is just analyzing the person, and who knows, by the end of this session or this campaign, or not session, but by the end of this campaign, you and this player might actually end up becoming off really good friends because your characters in game became good friends.